Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite up here Representative Carrie Seekings Crow for the national anthem. Representative.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
I'd like to welcome you all to the 2023 memorial service. It's a long-time tradition of the Montana Legislature. We gather here to offer a final salute to former members of the legislature who have passed away since we last convened. This is the time that those of us who currently are serving in the Montana legislature can pay our respects to those who have gone before us. It's amazing when you consider the number of people who have served the House and the Senate chamber during the past 130 years. They have addressed both very different problems, but also some of the very same issues we are faced with today. Each of us has known the challenges, joys, certainly frustrations, inherent to the legislative process. We bring varied backgrounds, opinions, certainly philosophies, yet we all strive to guide public policy for the good of the Montana citizens. So today we honor and remember those of whom we share so much. We extend to their families and loved ones who are here with us today our condolences and certainly deep respect. After this service, the Legislative Spouses Committee is sponsoring a memorial tea service in room 303. That's in the old Supreme Court chamber, right across the rotunda on this floor. Please stop in before you leave the Capitol. I'd like to have Pastor Johnson please come and do the invocation. Representatives Carrie Seekings Crow.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, that we have gathered here to honor those who have served you, served this body, served our state, and served our country. And Lord, we know at times we are hurting, and at times we have joy. But in the middle of all of it, we also have you, dear Lord. And thank you that we have this opportunity today on this beautiful spring day in these chambers to come honor one another, honor those who have served, and remember that we have a memory, but we also, that life is short, and we only have a short time to honor you, dear God. And I thank you for us, and I thank you for our families, dear Lord. And as we remember today, as we laugh, as we cry, just be with us. Dear Lord, in your name I pray, amen.
Amen. I'd like to welcome up our first tribute, Senator Mike Cuff.
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the House of Representatives of the state of Montana that we hereby respect our esteem and respect to the memory of the honorable senators and representatives and extend to their families our sincere sympathy in their great loss. Be it further resolved that a copy of this memorial be entered upon the journals of the Senate and the House of Representatives of the 68th Legislative Assembly, be transmitted to the surviving families, and that an original copy of these memorials be filed with the Montana Historical Society. Dated April 16, 2023, Jason Ellsworth, President of the Senate, Matt Regier, Speaker of the House. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Daryl Arvid Adams on February 12, 2022. Whereas it is fitting and proper that the record and accomplishments of the late Daryl Adams be filed on the official records of this assembly, and the following facts relative to his career are hereby noted. Daryl Adams was born on October 9, 1939, to Roger Leverett and Leela Wismer Adams in Hillsboro, Oregon, the youngest of 4 children. After high school graduation in 1957, he served briefly in the Army until being honorably discharged so he could come home to help his mother run the family farm upon the sudden death of his father. He met Lorena, the love of his life, while driving young people to church conferences. They were married for 56 years and had 7 children and 23 grandchildren. Daryl spent much of his life farming. In 1989, the family moved to Montana, and they enjoyed trips through Glacier Park, camping and canoeing. Daryl loved music, and his harmonica was never far from him. He loved drawing and filled sketchbooks with his unique style. Daryl was intrigued with developing new things and developed several inventions throughout his life. In 1997, Daryl ran for the Montana House of Representatives. His family members gathered to watch the election results come in, finally showing Adams in the lead. He served for 3 terms and was on Agriculture, State Administration, and Transportation committees. Later, he and Lorena moved back to Oregon and then to the warm weather and sunshine of Arizona. Daryl was a faithful and active part of his church. His family remembers his hallmark scowl and folding his arms when anything distasteful would come up in the conversation. People remember Daryl as kind, genuine, good-hearted, hardworking, peaceful, and gentle.
I'd like to welcome up former Speaker of the House and President of the Senate, Scott Sales.
Former State Senator Joe Balliet died the morning of October 4th, 2022, while hunting in the Bridger Mountains. His accomplishments were many, but included in these were 2 terms in this body and another 2 terms in the Senate. He was the Montana Director for Americans' Prosperity. He was author of several theological books. He was a prolific writer, if any of you knew him very well, and a national award-winning CPA. He graduated from the University of Montana in 2.5 years, gaining a degree in accounting, graduating with straight A's. He was also a 3-time Merit Scholar. He earned a gold medal in the Bridger Ridge Run Mountain Marathon in the late 1990s. He was a prolific political activist, two-time state chairman of the MSSA, president of the Montana Conservatives. He initiated numerous governmental referendums as a legislator and an activist. More importantly, he was a man who loved his family and did everything he could to provide for them and build a better world for future generations. He has impressed upon his descendants the importance of good work ethic, passing on his love of the great outdoors and the practical life skills to his children and grandchildren after him. I had the privilege of knowing Joe for 20 years. Just sat next to him right behind the Speaker of the House there when I was a freshman, and he was in his second term. He ended up becoming my CPA, and we hunted together a tremendous amount. In fact, the last public land bull I shot 4 years ago was about 100 yards from where Joe died, right up above our houses. He lived about maybe 2 miles north of me, north of Bozeman. Spent a lot of time with Joe. Went up and visited him one time for almost a month in Alaska. I was wiring his cabin for him. Probably the thing I'll remember the most about Joe, I could tell you 100 stories about his frugality and thrift when those were considered virtues. In this day and age, they're not looked on as brightly as they should be. But the last compliment I'll pay Joe was that as tight as he was, and those of you that know Joe know that Joe was tighter than bark on a tree, but he was even tighter with the taxpayers' dollars. He was a champion of the taxpayer through and through. He always fought for a lower, more cost-efficient budget here at the state, and he always fought for lower taxes, and I'll miss him a great deal.
I'd like to welcome up Senator McClafferty.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Joseph Haley Boudry at the age of 74 on April 13th, 2021. Joseph Haley Boudry was born on December 30th, 1946 in Butte, Montana. Haley grew up on the east side of Butte and spent his childhood raising hell with his siblings and friends. After graduating from Butte High in 1965, he went on to earn his Bachelor in Science degree in mining engineering and math at Montana Tech. He met the love of his life, Elizabeth Simmons, while working in Arkansas. When Elizabeth first met Haley, she asked him what he did for a living, and he jokingly said, "I blow up bridges." Shortly after meeting, Haley and Elizabeth married in September of 1974, and together they have 3 girls, Amy, Renee, and Haley Ann. Haley was so dedicated to his profession that he named one of his daughters after the American Institute of Mining and Engineering, Amy. Amy never knew this until the passing of her father's death. His career began at Bauxite Corporation in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Haley traveled to various places around the world for 7 years until Western Energy Company brought him back to Butte, where he worked as a project manager on the Rosebud mine. Soon after, he co-founded the White Resource Corporation, where he evaluated mining operations for foreign investors. In 1995, he was appointed by Governor Rackott to the Special Committee regarding power plant licensure. Later that year, he ran for representative of House District 35, where he became the first Republican elected from Butte since 1950. While his tenure in Montana legislature was short, Haley was always focused on professional engineering services, including government relations, representing natural resources, and industrial and scientific solutions. Haley served on the Montana Coal Board and on the Environmental Quality Council. He worked on everything from explosive demolition to assisting in permitting facilities under the Major Facility Sitting Act, from power plants to mining to oil and gas development. Haley was a passionate and steadfast advocate. Haley always had Butte in mind with his legislative actions, knowledge, and local community, and a desire to help make Butte's economic base strong through resources development done the right way. While I was visiting with several of Haley's friends who worked with him as a legislator and a lobbyist, the first thing that I noticed was the big smile that came to their faces as they remembered their dear friend. Many said he was definitely one of a kind. He was friendly and always eager to engage in conversation. His smile was infectious. Others said it was always nice to chat with him, and his positive outlook was contagious. Haley will always be remembered as a true friend of Butte and to the Montana community. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome former Senator Taylor Brown.
Thank you. I know it says in your program that Butch Gillespie is supposed to be up here right now, and the only thing I can say is Butch should just be glad it's not John Brueggemann up here right now. So it is the 68th Legislature's turn to record the passing of Jerry Wayne Black this last November 22nd, 2022. Jerry Black was born August 30th, 1935 in Lewistown and raised in Shelby, graduated from high school in 1953. He attended Montana State University and placed first in the Northwest trampoline competition. But he had a 47-year radio career there in Shelby that began by joining the staff of KIYI in the summer of 1955. And then he ended up purchasing KSCN from another great legislator from that Highline area, from John Lyon in 1976. And many of you remember John, who served at KSCN, then went to the legislature, as did Jerry, who ran the KSCN radio there in Shelby, and then went to the legislature. He and his family made a huge impact there in KSCN. Jerry then retired as owner-manager of KSCN in 2002, and of course ran for the legislature in 2003. It was 2004 that those of us in the broadcasting industry elected Jerry to our Hall of Fame. So he serves in the Montana Broadcasters Hall of Fame since 2004. My family worked with Jerry and his family many years there because their station is an affiliate of the Northern Ag Network, and great to see the family here today. And we so miss Billyette. We so wish she could have joined us today, but she's just not up to coming to these things now. But Billyette and Jerry made such a huge difference here. Jerry was elected to the Senate to represent District 14 in the 2003, 2005, 2007, and 2009 sessions. And my first session was 2009, and what pride it gave me to serve in that first session with Jerry. His legislative career included serving on the Taxation Committee and Education Committee, chairman of the Senate Education and Telecommunications Committee, the Energy Committee. In retirement, he remained busy in a number of businesses. He had the Roustabout Oil magazine. He had a radio station in Rexburg, Idaho, the Triangle Travel Agency. He owned a restaurant for a while, and he valued community above all things there on the High Line. He often attended community parades, and of course, none of us can forget those famous farm forums that he held at the Shelby and Cutbank high schools. Jerry loved serving the community, and he loved boating and fishing and outdoor hunting, traveling with his wife and family, creating lasting memories as a member of the St. Luke's Lutheran Church there in Shelby. He was ready to join God, they say, free from pain and suffering, from a body that didn't serve him very well those last few years. He always said on Viewing Montana, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And those of us that worked with Jerry in the broadcasting industry and here on the floors in this legislature are awfully proud to recognize today my friend Jerry Black. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome up Representative Ken Walsh.
Whereas it is with great, deep, and sincere sorrow that members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Norris Mac Cole, April 20th, 2021. Norris Mac Cole was born June 4th, 1936 on the banks of the Yellowstone River. Mac was the eldest child of Norris and Margaret McKelvey Cole. He attended Sanders Elementary School, graduated from high school in Hysham, and received a degree from Montana State University in range management. Go Cats. Mac went on to earn a master's degree from the Thunderbird School of International Management in Phoenix, Arizona. Mac and Junie Cassidy were married February 10th, 1962, and spent 2 years in Brazil working for the Food for Peace program. Their first child, Margaret, was born in 1963 while they were in Brazil. Mac and Judy returned back to the States. He began his 30-year career with the Bureau of Indian Affairs, which took the family to many Indian reservations throughout the western United States. He finished his career with the BIA as Assistant Regional Director of the Billings area. During this period, they had 2 more children, Kathy and Cass, that are here with us today. After returning from the BIA, Mac and Judy returned to the family ranch near Sanders. Then he served the 5 terms from 1995 through the 2001 session in Montana State Senate, dedicating his efforts to improving and evolving natural resources in eastern Montana. He served on the Energy, Natural Resources, and Taxation committees. After his terms in the legislature, Mac and Judy returned to full-time ranching, where Mac served as the Treasure County Commissioner. The couple enjoyed traveling, watching their grandchildren, sporting events, and visiting families and friends. They moved to Billings in 2014, where they continued to enjoy the rest of their lives.
I'd like to welcome up Representative Paul Green.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Thomas Ray Conroy on March 7, 2023 in Hardin. Tom Conroy, son of Clement and Edna Conroy, was born in Judith Gap on November 12, 1934. When Tom was a freshman in high school, he moved to Lodgegrass with his older brother Kenneth, who was an English teacher there. Soon thereafter, his brother was drafted into the Korean War. Tom, however, stayed in Lodgegrass, where many families took him in and made their home his home away from home. He married his high school sweetheart, Colleen Barnes, and attended Rocky Mountain College. In 1966, the family purchased and moved to a farm in the Pryor Mountains. Tom spent years as a salesman for Mormon's Feed, where he got to know many of the farmers and ranchers in the country and made lifelong friends. Tom was a member of St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Hardin and shared his talent with the church choir and for local weddings and funerals. Tom served in the House of Representatives during the 1975, 77, 79, and 81 sessions. This expanded his friendship circle to include other lifelong friends across Montana. Working for the Western Sign Company gave Tom the experience and opportunity he and Colleen needed to start their own contracting business, Conroy's Fencing and Seating. He and his sons-in-laws, nephews, and friends worked many miles and years in the fence building and reclamation industry for Montana and Wyoming highway departments, as well as for many government and private customers.
I'd like to welcome up Senator Marianne Dunwell.
Charles, Faye, or Chuck Cousins. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Chuck Cousins on March 6, 2022. Representative Cousins. Chuck Cousins was born in January 1942 to Faye Alvern Cousins and Dorothy Marie Beal in Lovell, Wyoming. Chuck participated in track, basketball, and was the quarterback of the state championship football team. He was also in a barbershop quartet and was the valedictorian of his graduating class. Chuck met his wife, Cheryl Sprague, while in high school, and they continued dating long distance. He completed his freshman year at the University of Wyoming in Laramie. Then Chuck and Cheryl were married in Idaho Falls Temple, on August 28, 1964. They soon became the proud parents of 5 children, 21 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. After Chuck finished his mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the Gulf States Mission, he transferred to BYU, earning his undergraduate degree in psychology in 1966. He also earned an MBA in 1968. Upon graduating, he served in financial services and banking industries in New York City, Minneapolis, Billings, St. Louis, and Illinois. During Chuck's 11 years living in Montana, he became very active in politics and was elected to the 1981 Montana House of Representatives. Then he ran for U.S. Senate in 1984, where he won the Republican primary. Eventually was defeated in the general election to the incumbent. Chuck and Cheryl moved to Utah, where he began teaching in the business school at Utah Valley State College, later Utah Valley University, until retiring in 2016. But he wasn't done with work. In retirement, Chuck and Cheryl served on a mission in Hawaii from 2018 to 2019. Representative Chuck Cousins.
I'd like to welcome Representative Gunderson.
Thank you. I'm pinch hitting for Representative Butcher. I'm the better looking and probably well more mannered of the two. Whereas the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Jean DeMars on May 23rd, 2022 in Bozeman. Jean DeMars was born on January 8th, 1937 at the Coffee Creek Ranch to his parents, Elise Mengler and Albert DeMars. Jean met his wife, Jacqueline DeMars, Mossy, in high school at Denton, and they married September 23rd, 1956. Jean was a great football player in high school and was offered scholarships at MSU and Carroll College, which he had to forego because of a knee injury. Jean raised sheep with his brother Tommy at the W.P. Perrin Ranch above Utica in the late 1950s. He also farmed, growing wheat, barley, and sunflowers. The family moved to the home ranch in 1961, where they raised cattle, chickens, turkeys, pigs, a couple of peacocks, the damn geese, along with 4 sons. Jean initiated and became the first president of the Central Montana Railroad. He represented House District 29 in the 1987 and 1989 sessions, where he served on the Agriculture, Fish and Game, State Administration, and Business Committees. He was on the Denton and Coffee Creek school boards and was president of the Montana Jewelers Association. Jean worked on missile bases as a store manager at Skaggs in Great Falls and Basin Trading Post in Stanford. Jean and Jacqueline sold the ranch in the early 1990s and moved to Lewiston. During that time, the couple bought Rogers Jewelry, which he ran until Christmas Eve of 2012 when he retired at the age of 75. Jean DeMars.
I'd like to welcome Senator Mike Lang.
Whereas is with deep, sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislature Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Jerry Fida on April 24, 2021, at the age of 92. Jerry Fida was born on June 7, 1926, to John and Jenny Brazel Fida, and grew up in a family farm near Alexandria, Minnesota. After graduating from high school and spending 3 years in the Merchant Marines, Jerry rode along with his sister and his brother-in-law on a honeymoon until she decided that they were tired of him and dropped him off in a great town called Glasgow, Montana. He found work in Glasgow shoveling coal on the Great Northern Railroad. He later retired 41 years later as an Amtrak engineer. Jerry also owned Glasgow Insurance and Realty and served in the Montana House of Representatives during the 1969 session and later in the 77, 79, and 81 sessions. He is a member of the State Board of Natural Resources, the Montana Coal Board, the Glasgow Hospital Foundation, and the Glasgow Chamber of Commerce. He was a devout Catholic and very proud that he served 81 years as a Knight of Columbus, as well as his local involvement in the Elks, Lions, and the JCs, and also a proud Glasgow Scottie. Jerry cherished his time as a husband, a dad, and a grandfather. He enjoyed traveling to reunions and special occasions. His wife Audrey and he were married for 69 years, and his wife Janice and grandchildren are here, or his daughter Janice are here today. Thank you very much.
I'd like to welcome Representative Melissa Romano.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Marjorie J. Fisher on February 22, 2022 in Whitefish, Montana. She was 89 years old. Marge Fisher of Whitefish, Montana was born to C. Guy Cleveland and Velma Enfield Cleveland on December 29, 1932 at Lake Crystal, Minnesota. After attending many schools in Minnesota, she graduated from Liberty Center High School in Liberty Center, Iowa. Marge worked as an auditor and contracting officer for the U.S. Forest Service prior to becoming a successful broker-owner and certified financial planner with Linsco Private Ledger, working from her office in Whitefish. She was the mayor of Whitefish and was active on numerous charitable boards and community activities, among them the Flathead Economic Development Corporation, Chamber of Commerce, Business and Professional Women, Big Brothers and Big Sisters, and United Way. She was a Flathead County Liberty trustee and volunteer. She served in the Montana House of Representatives during the 1993 and 1995 sessions, and she became chair of the Appropriations Committee. Marge was greatly respected for her quiet intelligence and business acumen. Marge played the saxophone, harmonica, piano, violin, accordion, and banjo, was an author, rock hound, and gemologist, traveled to many countries and all 50 states, loved whitewater rafting and skydiving, roller coasters, and fast cars. Marge Fisher.
I'd like to welcome Senator Dennis Lenz.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Frank Richard Fleming on March 6, 2022. Frank Fleming was born on December 11, 1953, the son of Frank and Helen Rotfold Fleming. He graduated from Great Falls High School in 1972, where he earned all-state honors in football and track. He attended Eastern Montana College in Billings on a football scholarship, where he was a four-year starter. Frank earned both a bachelor and master's degree in education. Frank retired after having served 21 years for the United States Probation Office. He was Chief United States Probation Officer for Montana the last 7.5 years of his career. He also was the manager at the State of Montana Job Service Office. Frank had a lifelong interest in politics. In 2017, he was appointed to House District 51, covering Billings South Side, to fill out the remaining term for Adam Rosendale. He was then elected to the House of Representatives in 2018 and served during the 2019 and 2021 sessions on local government, state administration, judiciary, and transportation committees. Frank had planned to run for another term in the House of Representatives, but decided in January that he would not be seeking re-election due to medical reasons. He wrote in a January 26 post, "It has been an honor and privilege to serve the citizens of my home state of Montana." Governor Greg Gianforte ordered the flags at the state capitol be flown at half-staff in honor of Frank Fleming. Goodbye, Frank. You're missed.
Welcome, Representative Melissa Romano.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of David Spike Fuller on March 6, 2022. Spike Fuller was born on July 28, 1941, in Helena to Harry and Hallie Sasek Fuller. He graduated from Helena Senior High School in 1959. He was an excellent student, an athlete, class president, and editor of the yearbook. He was nominated by Senator Lee Metcalf to attend the U.S. Military Academy, but poor eyesight prevented that. He went to the University of Montana on a baseball scholarship, and his college years also showed his natural leadership. He was active in his fraternity and various honorary organizations. After teaching in a low-income area of San Francisco, Spike moved back to Helena and in time became the executive director of the Montana Democratic Party and the Montana Commissioner of Labor and Industry, a Montana state senator, and Lewis and Clark County commissioner. He also was very proud of his work at Rocky Mountain Development Council. Spike believed in public service and in the working class background, and his working class background guided his work. He always chose to fight for less powerful people. He believed that government existed to be helpful to citizens who needed help. He understood that politics and elections were the vehicle by which governmental actions could be made real. He dedicated himself to their causes and especially respected the late Lee Metcalf. His resume is filled with work and activities that speak to public service. As a mentor, he has encouraged improvement by engaging in casual conversation, never harsh criticism. His message was gentle. He gave suggestions, not demands, encouragement, not criticism. David Spike Fuller.
I'd like to welcome up former Representative Dennis Reibert.
If I were to give 3 words that I heard from people more than anything else, one, they couldn't believe that Leo had passed along, and they all said he was larger than life, and he really was. He was quite an individual. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Leo Giacometto on August 8, 2022, in the Kingdom of Bahrain, a long way from Alzada, Montana. Leo Giacometto was born in Belle Fourche, South Dakota, on May 14, 1962, to Leo Eugene Giacometto and Sandra Floyd. She is with us today. He extended the Giacometto legacy in southeastern Montana as a 7th-generation rancher. At the age of 17, Leo enlisted in the United States Army. His first deployment was in Panama as a military police officer, where he met his first wife, Mildred Shomba, at Chivarria. Leo was a graduate of the United States Army Military Police Academy, Airborne School, Jungle Warfare School, U.S. Army Command, and General Staff College, and an honor graduate of the Montana Military Academy. He served his country for 23 years, the last 8 as an Army reservist assigned to the United States Department Counterterrorism Task Force, traveling around the world and retiring as a lieutenant colonel. Leo purchased the family ranch and was the Carter County magistrate. He was elected to the Montana House of Representatives for the 1987 and 1989 sessions and served on the Agriculture, Fish and Game, and Judiciary committees. In 1990, he was nominated and confirmed to serve as the 3rd youngest U.S. Marshal in the history of the country. He later held cabinet positions for Governor Mark Roscoe as Director of Agriculture and for Judy Martz as a member of the Northwest Power Planning Council. Leo then served as Chief of Staff for U.S. Senator Conrad Burns of Montana. Leo later assisted both domestic and international companies navigating the red tape of Washington, D.C., and then began focusing on international business development from Africa to the Middle East, Eurasia, Mongolia, Bahrain, and Azerbaijan. After a 10-year courtship, he married the love, and he kept telling us over and over, the love of his life, Aurelia Skipwith, in New Orleans on September 25th, 2021.
I'd like to welcome the former Representative Jerry Bennett.
Thank you. This is a real honor for me. Chris's best friend, Stephanie, couldn't be here, and so she asked if I would speak in her behalf. So, whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Kristen Hansen on July 7, 2022, with her parents and best friends by her side. I want to get a little personal here. Chris was born on December 21st, 1969 in Peoria, Illinois, and it was adopted 3 days later by her parents, Fred and Nancy Sue. And she did an internship for the CIA. Chris was a very interesting woman. Graduated from law school in 2002, moved to Montana in 2003, and just had an incredible life here in Montana. And so, as I considered what I wanted to share here, Chris was just a dear friend and a godly woman, and we were best friends. We were brother and sister in Christ, and I considered her my little sister. There was only two issues with that. She was far more intelligent than I am, and I had to ask her advice a lot of times. And then in 2013, I think it was God appointed, I sat over here in chair 11. God put Chris in 23 right behind me, and we had talked a lot, got to know each other a lot, and so she knew my passions, I knew hers. So when a bill would come up on the floor and she didn't think it was being addressed properly, and she knew I had interest or some education in that, she would either reach up and poke me in the back or say, "Bennett, get up and address this bill." So we just had a great relationship. One of Chris's passions was education, and not just education, but education chosen by parents. And Senator Lou Jones carried a bill, Senate bill, I think it was 410, with a little $150 tax credit that could be applied either publicly or privately. And that made it through the House and the governor office and came to fruition. And then Chris had 4 people already handpicked for a nonprofit. So he started a nonprofit and started handing out kids' tuitions and that for private school. Well, then the state of Montana decided that that was illegal, but we knew that was baloney. So that case actually went to the Supreme Court. So Chris and I and Jeff Lazofsky and Bill Mercer made the trip back to the Supreme Court. And it was an incredible experience. And along with that, the children and their mothers prevailed that took that suit to the Supreme Court. And so Chris was very visionary when it came to those types of things. And so, finally, Chris really had a great career. CIA, she was a legislator, she was a senator, she worked in the auditor's office, then she went to work with Austin Knutson. And one of the interesting things was she had called me and she was thinking about moving the Montana Highway Patrol, and because they were out of room. And I told her I thought it was a great idea, and just within a very short period of time, it came to fruition. And this year, the legislature honored her with naming the Boulder facility after her. The humorous thing is, Chris got that done quicker than it took to write the bill and get her name on the building. So she was an amazing woman, godly woman, and I know that the Lord said, "Welcome home, daughter of mine." So, thank you.
I'd like to welcome Representative Paul Tuss, and also a friend of Stephen's.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Steve Helmbrecht on October 21st, 2021 in Seattle, Washington, from complications related to cancer. Steve Helmbrecht was born on May 5th, 1951 in Havre, Montana, to parents Vernon and Toby Helmbrecht. Steve graduated from Havre High School and went on to attain his BA in journalism from the University of Montana in 1975. He was elected to the Montana House of Representatives from Havre in 1973. Steve also served his country in the Army National Reserve. As a praised and accomplished photographer, Steve bought Helmbrecht Photography from his father in 1983. While operating the studio, Steve obtained his Master of Photography and Photographic Craftsman degrees from the Professional Photographers of America. Steve served as president of the Professional Photographers of Montana in 1990 and again in 2005. He was elected Montana's representative to the Professional Photographers of Montana for 6 years. The Montana Professional Photographers Association bestowed the National Award for Service to the Photographic Profession to Steve in 2010. Until the end, Steve remained a true artist and Renaissance man. He dedicated himself to perfecting many crafts. In addition to his photography business, he was also talented in ceramics. Steve taught ceramics for 18 years at Montana State University Northern. He also loved to share his culinary crafts with family and friends. Representative Steve Helmbrecht.
I'm former Senator Greg Jurgensen. Steve Helmbrecht and I were roommates during the 75 session when he served his one term in the House, and I served my first session in the Montana Senate. Though we grew up 20 miles apart, he in Havre and I in Chinook, Steve and I became friends at the University of Montana, where we came to be part of a group of young guys, politically ambitious in the large part, and our ringleaders were Ed Smith and Mike Cooney, and we would get together frequently to chart our political courses and before we got done with our studies at the university. And each of us would take turns hosting the others at some venue. And Steve came up with the venue where he hosted our little group for pizza and copious amounts of beer was at the Newman Center, just off the campus. And the Newman Center is a facility where the spiritual needs of Catholic students at the university were taken care of. Anyhow, there we were in the den TV room of the Newman Center, and next door in the library of that same facility, Father was having a retreat with a group of slightly more devout young Catholics. And so we did our studies and they did their studies. And Steve and I then made our way to getting elected to the legislature and serving that one session together. And he only chose to serve the one term, and then he went back to being the highest status for all of us, and that is being a citizen. And in the city of Havre, Steve was one of the great citizens. He was always available to others who were holding public office to offer advice and counsel and support, and he was always available for things in the community. He loved his children, he loved his family, he loved his community and his friends. And none of us know whether that group that other group all met or will meet their fondest hopes for eternal salvation. But about Steve, I can say this: because he was such a good guy, I'm sure he met his eternal salvation. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome up Senator Andrea Olson.
It is with deep and sincere sorrow and a true honor that I join the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana to record the passing of Gary Niles Kimball on July 30th, 2022. Gary Kimball was born on January 3rd, 1942 in Fort Belknap, Montana. His parents were Aubrey Elwood and Ceciliana Steffarm Kimball. Representative Kimball was a proud enrolled member of the Gros Ventre tribe and successfully served the public interest his entire life. He gave credit for his success to his tribe, the White Clay people, his family, and the schools he attended in Montana, including the University of Montana. Gary completed a journalism degree in 1966, and the day after his graduation, he was drafted into the U.S. Army and served as a journalist with the 4th Infantry Division in Pleiku, Vietnam. He received an Army commendation for outstanding service. After Vietnam, Gary worked at the Seattle Boeing Company before returning to Montana, where he graduated from the UM Law School in 1972. At that time, he was elected to the Montana House of Representatives and served in the 73, 75, and 77 sessions, concentrating on the issues that truly matter to the people of Montana: labor, employment, environmental, public health, the social welfare. He was also general counsel to the Fort Belknap Indian Community Council, counsel to the Paper Worker Union in Missoula, an assistant professor of Native American Studies at UM, and a law professor at Lewis and Clark College. Representative Kimball was the first Native American to run for Congress from Montana. Nationally known, he was appointed counsel to the Indian Affairs Committee in the U.S. Senate and was appointed director of the Columbia River Inter-Tribal Fish Commission. In 1993, Gary was awarded the University of Montana Distinguished Alumni Award for all his accomplishments. And we all continue to benefit from his work, from the work of this very smart, generous, and dedicated man. Thank you, dear Gary Kimball, for sharing your time, your talent, for the benefit, and your power for the benefit of the people of Montana. May you rest in peace.
I'd like to welcome Representative Jerry Schillinger.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Carol Lambert on July 5th, 2021, her 63rd wedding anniversary. Carol Lambert was born on August 4th, 1941, the third of 5 children born to Earl and Hazel Camper Drain. Carol was small in stature, but big in heart. She was a friend to everyone, could make conversations with anyone, and she was interested in what you had to say. She played the piano and sang and made great cakes for every occasion. Carol married Norman Lambert on July 5th, 1958. They had 3 sons, Norman Earl, William Ray, and Marcus Allen. They lived and worked on several ranches before they leased and later bought the Lambert homestead to ranch and raise their family. She could work alongside with men and then run back to the house and feed the crew. Although she considered her greatest accomplishment her kids and family, she contributed much to her community and state. Carol was a past president of the Montana Women Involved in Farm Economics, or WIFE. She served on the State Independent Living Council, State Vocational Rehab Council, and Montana Disabilities Board, along with various Republican women groups and committees. Carol took great pride in going door to door, campaigning for the legislature, and she served as a member of the Montana House of Representatives in the 2003, 2005, and 2007 sessions. She served on the Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Taxation Committees. Representative Carol Lambert.
I'd like to welcome former Senator Kim Gillian.
Good afternoon. Ralph Lee Lenhart passed away in the early quiet hours of December 31st, 2022 at age 92. Ralph was born in Durham, Wisconsin on October 18th, 1930 to Cliff and Helga Lenhart. He was the seventh of eight children. Unfortunately, tragedy struck the family, rendering Ralph an orphan and alone at age 7. Mabel Inger, the sister of Ralph's mother, gave Ralph a home, and Ralph never forgot the sting of being rendered homeless. Ralph met the love of his life, Shirley, in his teen years while riding the bus to visit his aunt at a lake in Minnesota. The girl with whom he shared a seat would eventually become his true love and his partner in all of Ralph's endeavors. Ralph graduated from Oaks High School and Ellendale Teachers College. His college was interrupted by service in the U.S. Army, including a tour of duty in West Germany on the Czech border. When Ralph returned, he finished his degree in education and married Shirley. He loved teaching and saw potential in every student. Ralph and Shirley initially made their home in the Twin Cities, and that is where their daughter Nan was born in 1958. But in 1960, Montana called to Ralph and his family, and they all moved to Glendive, Montana, where Ralph taught math at Dawson Community College. And Ralph would stay at Dawson Community College for 40 years. During their time, son and daughter, Ned and Kaya, were also added to the family. Ralph was extremely active in his local community. He served as president of Zion Lutheran Church and the JCs, as well as being an active member of the Breakfast Lions Club. He built cabins for a youth camp, housing for low-income families, and affordable homes for Dawson County families. He also played a key role in the establishment of the Eastern Montana Veterans Home. As I said before, Ralph retired from teaching at Dawson Community College after 40 years, but that didn't stop his dedication to public service. He served 4 terms as a member of the Montana House of Representatives. Ralph was what we would call a diplomatic but persistent champion for Eastern Montana and for community colleges all during his life, as well as the time he spent in the Montana House. Those who served with Ralph will probably remember a couple of things. One, he was always willing to build bridges and work across the aisle. Second of all is that Ralph didn't stand up a lot during his legislative tenure, but when Ralph did stand up, the floor became silent and everyone listened to him. And I think the third thing is that Ralph was always willing to share a story about how fantastic it was to live in Glendive and the beauty of the surrounding area. Ralph also, I said, served on the Montana Coal Board. Ralph Lenhart, in my opinion, was a life well lived. Thank you very much.
We'll take a brief 10-minute intermission and then come back. Thank you. If everybody could please have a seat again. If everybody could grab a seat. If everybody could grab a seat, please. I always wanted to use the gavel up here. A little disappointed in the gavel up here. We have a bigger one in the Senate. So I'd like to introduce to you Mary Tripp. She was born and raised in Helena and carries on her family legacy as a fifth-generation business owner in Montana. She owns the Platinum Salon here in Helena and also a board member of the Montana Youth Diabetes Alliance. She takes much pride in being a Montanan and will be honoring us by singing Amazing Grace. Ms. Tripp.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already come. 'Tis grace that brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home. Oh, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see.
I'd like to welcome up Representative Denleen Logie.
Joseph Marcus Magone was born on June 14, 1923 in Bellingham, Washington, the eighth of 11 children. Shortly after Joe's birth, the family settled in an old homestead in Trout Creek, near Superior, Montana. Joe's family spent his 6th birthday camped out on the property, and Joe complaining. No cake, no pie, no nothing. A heck of a birthday. This was the first memory of the place that would actually become his home for his entire life. The family remembered the Depression years as happy ones. They raised vegetables, hunted and fished, and lived in one shack or another so the kids could attend school, happily returning to summer at the ranch. During World War II, Joe and his 2 brothers enlisted. Their mother proudly displayed 3 blue stars in her window until the boys came home safely. Joe returned home and worked construction with his father and brothers until he hired on as a union carpenter during the building of a mill near the family property in Superior. He later was hired as the millwright's carpenter, a position he retained until his retirement in 1986. Joe married Idris Haka, which started their 50-year marriage on July 30th of 1950 in Missoula after a whirlwind 3-month courtship. They returned to the ranch and built a home in Superior where they raised their 5 children, and Joe resided until his death, October 8th, 2022, at the age of 99. In 1974, Joe was elected to the Montana House of Representatives and served 2 terms, 1975 and 1979. He was a dedicated Mason and life member of Mountain Lodge number 110. He was recently admitted to the Montana Mason Hall of Fame, one of his greatest honors. He was a committed union member, also championing the rights of working men, a U.S. Army Air Corps veteran. Joe is a life member of the local VFW. He was a craftsman, a carpenter, a master gardener, and he said that should he have lived his life over, he would not change anything. One thing, you always saw Joe in quite a few of the recent years, any parade around the country, he would be Uncle Sam, dressed up in Uncle Sam. It was quite a sight on all the parades. And 2 of his children, Dale and Diane, are here in the audience, and his daughter-in-law, and they've both been involved in politics as well. So Joe carried that on to his family. Quite a person for our community. Thank you.
Welcome up former Representative Scott Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mr. President. Robert L. Bob Marks. Where it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Robert L. Bob Marks on April 10th, 2023, last Monday, at his home in Clancy, Montana, with grace and peace. Bob Marks was born in Helena, the 2nd son of Merle and Evelyn Marks, on January 11th, 1932. He was raised on the family ranch in Clancy, attending grade school there and then going on to high school at Jefferson County High School in Boulder. He learned his work ethic from his father while taking care of draft horses, threshing grain, milking cows, putting up hay, and other duties. Bob attended the University of Montana and Montana State until he decided higher education was not for him, and he pursued a career of ranching full-time. He married Barb Miles in 1951, and they started their family of 6 children, all of which are here today. While he loved ranch life, it did not support his family. He continued to use the old sawmill his father had put together for cutting mine timbers and construction work in the early 1900s, and began harvesting logs and cutting lumber for his own property while selling lumber as a side business, which turned into Mark's Lumber. In 1982, Bob and Barb decided to build a small bar and restaurant in Clancy. This became the Legal Tender Cafe. After serving on a school board, Bob chose to enter politics. In 1968, he ran a successful campaign for the state legislature in his home House district. For the next 20 years, he represented this district in the House, the higher chamber, while holding Republican leadership positions. Speaker pro tem, minority whip, Republican leader, and 2 terms as Speaker of the House. He also chaired the Western District Council of State Governments, and in 1989, newly elected Governor Stan Stevens appointed Bob to head the Department of Administration. He had learned the art of compromise and gained the friendship of hundreds of people on both sides of the aisle. Bob's campaign slogan was, "Make your mark for Marks." He did leave his mark with his family, wisdom, integrity, work ethic, and love. On a personal note, Bob was my personal friend and mentor and my breakfast buddy for 18 years. Bob Marks.
I'd like to welcome up Representative Carrie Seekings-Crow.
John G. Matsko. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of John G. Matsko at age 66 in Colorado Springs, Colorado. John was born on March 10th in 1953 in Great Falls to parents Patricia and Thomas Matsko. Raised in Great Falls, he attended the University of Montana, Carroll College, and the College of Great Falls. John joined the Cascade County Sheriff's Office in 1975 and worked there for 13 years. He underwent specialized training in law enforcement and management with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office and the FBI Academy in Virginia, where he served for 13 years. John was a member of the House of Representatives during the 1981 session. He moved his family to Colorado Springs in 1988, where he served for 20 years at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. After retirement, he remained committed to serving others by teaching at Master Drive until his passing. Representative John Matsko.
I'd like to welcome up former Representative Pat Noonan.
It is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Arthur J. Noonan on March 6, 2022, when he passed on September 17, 2022 in Butte. Art Noonan was 70 years old. Uncle Art loved Montana. He was dedicated to public service and was a strong proponent and believer in American democracy. He spent 40 years in public service making Montana a better place, particularly for the people that grew up in Butte, America. Art honed his trademark speech and debate skills at a young age. In his early 20s, he was welcomed to address several legislative sessions where he paced up and down this aisle and the aisle in the Senate in period costume as Thomas Jefferson, extolling the virtues of the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. His dedication to serving his community and passion for social justice likely started in 1971, when Art received statewide publicity for being the first young person to register to vote in Silver Bow County after the law was changed in 1969, lowering the voting age from 21 to 19. In the decades that followed, Art had a distinguished career in government and public service. Art worked on the staff for former Congressman Pat Williams for many, many years, where he focused on natural resources and wilderness issues. He was most proud of helping protect Yellowstone Park from geothermal development and creating the Lee Metcalf Wilderness Area. While with Williams, Art Noonan served as staffer for the House Interior Committee, and for several years in D.C., Art worked on wilderness issues with Montana's senior Senator John Melcher. Art ended his congressional career with Pat Williams in the Butte field office. From 2005 to 2011, Art served 3 terms as a Democratic state representative from House District 73 representing Butte, and in 2009 I had the honor to serve my first session with him. He went on to be executive director of the Democratic Party from 2007 to 2009, as well as deputy director of the Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks from 2009 to 2011. And at the time of his passing, he was running a campaign to return to the House of Representatives and once again represent Butte. And he was so excited for this session, and he would say to me, "I am so excited for this session coming up because for the first time in my life and the first time in my career, I can say whatever I want, because I have nothing to lose." And for those of you who knew Art, and especially those who served with Art, you were either very excited about this prospect or you were very nervous. Art was contemplative, he was quick-witted, and loved the art of conversation and healthy debate. It didn't matter the subject. He was articulate on any topic and an orator for the ages. His keen sense of humor, his ability to tell a great story, and his unique perspective will be missed by all who knew him. He said and truly lived by these words: "Be better than where you came from. Be better than those who oppose you, and be better than you believe possible." Montana has lost a poet, a diplomat, a guru, and a warrior for blue-collar labor. Butte has lost a man-at-arms who never forgot his home community. We have all lost a piece of our Montana. I will always feel so blessed about the time I got to spend with Art and the time I got to spend with so many of the people that we are honoring today and in years past, that they took the time to pass down a piece of their wisdom to me, and that is a true gift. I miss you, Uncle Artie. We are all better for having known you.
Senator Janet Ellis.
Excuse me. Harold Lee Paulson was a well-known insurance and investment representative and popular singer who was born in Helena in 1917. He was the oldest of 6 children born to Paul and Elfrida Paulson. Harold joined the Army in 1941. There, he was accepted into Officer Candidate School and received his commission as an Air Force statistical officer. He served with the 8th Air Force for 28 months in England, and was discharged in December 1945 with the rank of captain. After his time in the service, Harold returned to Helena, where he began a long career in life insurance. In 2001, he was honored at the home office of the Hartford Company on the occasion of his 65th anniversary with the company, longer than any other individual. In 1947, Harold married. He and his wife, Betty, raised 4 children. He served in the Montana House of Representatives during the 1957 and 1959 sessions. His children remember hanging campaign signs while helping their dad win his elections. Harold will be remembered for his great tenor voice. He sang for most of the Montana governors during his lifetime and once shared the stage with the late Norman Vincent Peale. He sang in groups, choirs, and solo performances across the United States and in England, Norway, and Denmark. He was a featured singer at the Governor's Prayer Breakfast from the start in the 1960s. Harold Paulson was 98 when he passed away in 2015. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome former Senator Alan Holson.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Gary Perry on October 24th, 2021 in Bozeman. Gary Perry was born on November 24th, 1949 in Vincennes, Indiana. He graduated from high school in Bridgeport, Illinois, attended Olney Central College, Millikan University, and Parkland College in Illinois. He received a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana in 1985. In 1968, he met his wife Lisa when he was 19 and she was 16. They were married in June of 1970. After he graduated from the University of Illinois, Gary and Lisa moved to Seattle, Washington, where he worked with his brother and acquired patents in the hot water industry. In 1996, he started to manufacture and sell his patented products. He was president of Perry Industries. Gary and Lisa always wanted to move to Montana but could not find work. After a flood destroyed their brand new home in 1997, Gary told Lisa that if they got the house cleaned up, he would take her anywhere she wanted to go. After the job was done, he asked her where she wanted to go, and she responded, "Take me to Montana." Within a week, they had driven to Montana, made an offer on a house, bought some land, and they built their manufacturing plant and changed their license plates to Montana. They bought the house that his wife still lives in. Having been interested in politics since he was a young boy, Gary decided it was time to give back. He won a seat in the Montana State Senate in 2003 and served in the Senate through 2009. Senator Perry was famous for his 41-minute opening on a bill. He was a member of the Judiciary and Natural Resources Committees. He was also chairman of the Gallatin County Republican Central Committee, the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary, and the NRA. I really believe Gary never met an individual that he didn't like. And I really believe anybody that had the opportunity to meet Gary really liked him as well. While Gary was serving in the Senate, I was serving in the House. We always had Thursday night socials, but you had to become a member of the HAPS Athletic Club. One night while we were down there, I just had to pick his brain a little bit, and I asked him, why is it the Senate likes to kill bills that come out of the House? So he gave me a lecture on maturity. And that never sunk in until I left the House and went to the Senate. Gary was deeply in love with his wife, Lisa. They were two of the most fantastic hosts that I had ever met in my life. There were numerous times my wife and I, we'd go swing by there, we'd have dinner, we'd spend the night. But Gary never stopped talking about the love he had for his wife and his son. Gary, rest in peace. God bless.
I'd like to welcome up Representative Mike Yakowicz.
Good afternoon. Arthur L. Peterson. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Arthur L. Peterson on March 22nd, 2023. Art Peterson was born in Minnesota on June 27th, 1926, in a parsonage of the Congregational Church, where his father served as a pastor. The sixth child born to Hilda and J. Martin Peterson, his childhood was spent in small towns in the Midwest, in Minnesota and Wisconsin. He became the nation's youngest state legislator in 1952, when he was elected to the Wisconsin Assembly in 1950. He interrupted his legislative service when he volunteered for duty with the U.S. Marine Corps during the Korean conflict, in which he served as an infantry company commander as a captain in Korea. Shortly before going to Korea, he had married Connie Lucille Hare. During the career, which combined a continuing interest in higher education and politics, he served in 20 years as a college professor in the field of political science at the University of Wisconsin and Ohio Wesleyan, and as a college dean and president for 16 years at the American Graduate School of International Management in Lebanon Valley College. In the late 1990s, Art served as a Scott Professor of Leadership at Rocky Mountain College in Billings. He was elected as a member of the 2001 State House of Representatives and served on the Appropriations Committee. God rest his soul. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Senator Tom McGilvery.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Thomas Paul Tom Richmond on February 14, 2022 at St. Vincent Hospital at age 73. Tom was born in Great Falls to Dorothy and Lou Richmond on August 4, 1948. He married Renee Dupuis in 1969, and they had been married 52 years. Both Tom and Renee attended the same grade schools and high school in Great Falls. Tom graduated from Montana Tech in Butte in 1971 with a bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering. After graduation, he worked in the Great Falls refining division of Phillips Petroleum Company before taking a position at the U.S. Geological Survey's Conservation Division Offshore Operations Office in Metairie, Louisiana. He moved with the Geological Survey to engineering positions in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. Tom served in the Montana House of Representatives during the 15th session and as a state senator for District 28 during the 17 and 19 sessions. He served on business, energy, natural resources, and education committees. Tom was a licensed amateur radio operator and past president of the Yellowstone Radio Club. He was a master woodworker, a hobby where he made most of the furniture in his house, kitchen and bathroom cabinets, outdoor large planters, and remade the decks around his house. There wasn't a project he couldn't do. He also loved classical music, opera, reading, books, and taking people and talking to people and having pets, dogs, and cats. I always remember Tom Richmond as a man with a tremendous positive attitude and a smile for everyone that he met. And I always think that if all of us were more like Tom Richmond, the world would be a near perfect place.
I'd like to welcome former Representative Sheila Rice.
Good morning. I'd like to start out by thanking the staff and the legislators that put this together. What a wonderful, wonderful event. Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of Jonas Rosenthal on October 2nd, 2022. Jonas Rosenthal served in the Montana Legislature in the 1979 session. He was born in Baltimore, Maryland, got educated, and came to Montana to go west after finishing his master's degree. He came to go to see the West and to do good work, which he did his entire life. After a few years as a recreational therapist in the children's unit in Warm Springs, he moved to Great Falls as the director of Big Brothers and Big Sisters, which is where I met him, and he became my forever friend. His hockey coach, of all people, Jonas loved his hockey, decided that Jonas should run for office, that he had a future in politics, and he did. He was elected, and he served at probably one of the few people of Jewish faith that ever served in the Montana legislature. But Jonas served in the 1979 session, deeply interested in education, and he used his insights to improve the entire education system of Montana. From that time, government policy and practice became his world. From the legislature, he moved to the staff of Governor Ted Schwinden. He was a budget analyst in developing the block grant program for the Build Montana program and serving as a liaison to many departments, including the healthcare cost containment. So even in the 80s, we were talking healthcare cost containment, and the Women in Employment Advisory Council, another active subject today. He completed his master's at MSU, his master's in public administration, MSU, in 1995. Then he went back east to be closer to family, and he became the village manager at Poultney, Vermont, continuing his philosophy of doing good work. In small town Vermont, the village manager also serves as the zoning administrator, the dog wrangler, the recreation and traffic director, and the health and litter control officer, all of which he did with great stamina and kindness. Jonas was a mentor to many people, an inspiration to many more. His passion lay in expanding opportunities for young people. He was a very, very accomplished grant writer and secured funding for many projects in Vermont. He volunteered extensively, doing more good work. The Pulteney Chamber of Commerce named Jonas as their first ever honorary citizen of the year. Likewise, he was honored by a Vermont State House resolution and received many awards in municipal management, preservation, and good downtown programs. Jonas passed away October 2nd, having lived a life of great public service. Vermont and Montana are better for his dedication. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome Senator John Esp.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Glenn Arthur Roush on May 17, 2020, at the Veterans Home in Columbia Falls. Glenn Roush was born in Helena on January 25, 1934, at the Florence Crittenden Home. He was adopted as an infant through the Intermountain Children's Home by Robert and Agnes Roush of Hardin. He spent his childhood in various places throughout Montana and South Dakota because his father was employed with the U.S. Department of Interior and various county extension offices. Glenn graduated from Cut Bank High School in 1952 and attended Montana State College before enlisting in the U.S. Army in 1955. He was employed by the Montana Power and then Northwestern Energy for 44 years in the gas well production services. He was a member of the AFL, CIO, the Moose, American Legion, and the Elks. Glenn served as a board member for Glacier County Community Health Center. Glenn was very proud to have served in the Montana House and then in the Montana State Senate. He served on Business, Labor, and Energy and Telecommunications and Natural Resources committees. One of the highlights of his tenure in the political arena was as a leader of the Montana State Veterans Affairs Committee, arranging for the National Director of the Veterans Affairs to visit Montana. Nearly 1,000 veterans traveled to Helena for a public hearing to speak directly to the administrator about the challenges they faced in traveling great distances to receive medical and social services at Fort Harrison, the only hospital/clinic in Montana at the time. The passion and actions of this committee led to the establishment of several more offices and clinics throughout the state, which made care much more easily accessible for veterans. And I'm just going to offer a cautionary tale for the president and the speaker and other younger legislators that are here today. When I moved into the Senate many, many years ago, Senator Roush was a bald old man that sat at the end of the row. Some days his voice worked better than others. Some days I was tempted to finish his sentences for him. And God has a sense of humor, because now I'm a bald old man that sits at the end of the row. And as I look out when I'm speaking, I can see some of you trying to finish my sentence for me. So I've taken Senator Roush to a whole new level, because sometimes I can't get up and down out of my chair to speak or for the pledge or whatever. So about a year and a half after he died, Senator Roush, through God, has taught me a lesson in empathy and perspective, and I thank him for that. And God rest Senator Roush.
I'd like to welcome former Senator Bob Story.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislature Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Barry Spook Stang on January 22nd, 2023. Spook Stang was born in Missoula, the middle child of three, on December 5th, 1950, to Leo and Angie Stang. He spent his early years in Missoula until his dad moved the family to St. Regis in 1958 and opened Stang's Food City, a grocery store that was the family business. While pursuing a bachelor's degree in accounting at Carroll College, Spook made many lifelong friends. He took an accounting job in Helen after graduation, where he met the mother of his two children, Joe and Harris. The couple was married in Butte and moved to Hamilton, where his daughter Mandy was born in 1977. They returned to St. Regis, where Spook became a butcher in the Stang Food City. His son Ryan was born in 1979 to complete the family. While Spook was a great friend, he was even a better dad, and always sitting in the front row with his popcorn, cheering the kids on and instructing the referees. Spook was elected to the Montana House of Representatives in 1987, 89, 91 sessions, and then he moved on to the Senate, where he served in 93, 95, 97, 99, and he was one of the victims of term limits that began at the end of the 99 session. In both houses, he was on education, highways, and taxation committees. He had numerous friends on both sides of the aisle and was known for his ability to work with both parties. I had a great opportunity to serve with Spook. I was in the House in 95 through 99, and we worked on several bills together, but we served on a lot of interim committees together, and Spook, with his background in taxation and his interest in education, was always very knowledgeable and participated in those committees and provided a lot of good information. And because he could get along with both sides of the aisle, a lot of his ideas were accepted by everyone. But his bipartisanship would serve him well in the next career, which was the Executive Vice President of the Motor Carriers of Montana. And he served in that position for many years until he retired in 2020. One of the earlier speakers spoke about Haps Athletic Club, and Spook was the CEO of Haps Athletic Club. And Haps Athletic Club was an organization where legislators would gather at Haps down by the depot, and some of you have been there and some of you probably not. But to become a member, you had to stay till midnight. And so once you became a member, you got a card that you got to carry and that kind of thing. The other thing that, Spook was a guy that everybody liked and got along well with everybody, and he was always an organizer of events. And one of the other things that was pretty popular while Spook was both in the legislature and after he left it was they had a steak fry up at his house, and that's where his butcher meat cutting skills came into play, and him and Jerry Driscoll would round up a bunch of steaks, and they'd invite all the legislators and lobbyists up and have a steak fry in the spring. Spook and Joanne ended their marriage as friends. Spook rekindled his romance with Dawn Clements, and he loved Dawn and her kids, Ty and Evan. Dawn and Spook loved boating, and much of their vacation time together was involved on the lake or river. Spook enjoyed the Harley motorcycling trips with his cousin Mike, ATV adventures in Arizona, sports of all kinds, and every kind of bird hunting excursion that he could possibly get on. And some of you have had the opportunity, I hope, to attend his memorial service down at Jorgensen's earlier this session, and it was just a great event, and a lot of folks talked about their interaction with Spook and the things that he did, and what a great guy he was, and he certainly will be missed.
I'd like to welcome Representative Michelle Binkley.
Whereas it is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Miles L. Swan on May 26, 2019, surrounded by his loving family. Miles Torchy Swan was born on March 28, 1926, in Livingston to Leonard and Lillian Swan. The family, including his sisters Lila and Sheila, lived on the family ranch outside of Highwood. His mother sent him to school when he was 5 years old to get him out from underfoot, as he was a rascal to his younger sister Lila. He graduated from high school in 1932. He attended Montana State College for 1 quarter and joined the Army in December of 1944, spending his first Christmas away from home in an empty barracks as everyone else had gone home for the holidays. Miles, stationed in Hawaii, translated Japanese and later Soviet radio code. An ace shot, he was promoted to sergeant and received an honorable discharge. Miles earned a degree in animal industry at MSc 1950 and was a member of Sigma Chi fraternity. Miles and his adorable Wyoming girl, Doris Nye, married on September 16, 1950, and returned to the ranch to start a family. Miles worked on the ranch with his father and later became partners with his brother-in-law, Herb Pasha. The two remained partners for over 40 years and formed a lifelong friendship. In addition to ranching, Miles served in the Montana House of Representatives in the 1969 and 1971 sessions. He was active in the Stock Growers Organization and served on 2 bank boards. He was active in Masons and Eastern Star. After 80-plus years of ranch life, Miles and Doris moved to Great Falls in 2014 and became active in the Senior Bridge community. They celebrated family at the annual Labor Day gathering at the cabin on Flathead Lake. Miles L. Swan.
I'd like to welcome Representative Derek Harvey.
It is with deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Mark Allen Sweeney on May 6th, 2022 at the age of 62. Mark was born in Butte on May 27th, 1959, the youngest son of Gene and Bill Sweeney. Raised in Mouse City, he hunted and fished the eastern prairies. He went to Western Montana College in Dillon, where he wrestled and explored the Mountain West. After college, he returned to eastern Montana and worked at the lower Yellowstone River intake near Glendive for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. He was responsible for establishing the river's walleye population, gathering walleye eggs downstream from the intake on the Yellowstone. Those eggs were spawned the walleye program at the Mouse City Fish Hatchery. That success led Mark to working to improve Montana fish population at as far west as Lake Kookanuska in Libby. He eventually became manager of the Washoe Park Trout Hatchery in Anaconda, where biologists developed the population of genetically pure West Slope cutthroat, used to repopulate the fish to their historic Montana territories. Mark grew up on the Yellowstone River, hunting and navigating in a small kayak. He was like Huckleberry Finn, said his friend Chris Marchand of Anaconda. He knew all the islands. He really knew the river. He would float it all the time in his little kayak. Mark's deeply seated values compelled him to serve the public. He began as a county commissioner and then as a member of the House of Representatives in the 2019 session and the State Senate in the 2021 session. He represented an area that stretched from Drummond to Walkerville in the north reaches of Butte. He was engaged in a campaign for the eastern seat to the U.S. House of Representatives at the time of his death. I had the pleasure of starting my legislative journey with Senator Sweeney. We served together in the House in 2019. And it was during that session he introduced me to his better half, his beloved wife, Sue. But Mark could hardly be missed outside of the building without his faithful companion, his beloved dog, Vern. Mark couldn't wait to get out of the building to spend time with Vern. Regardless of the circumstances or the debate that was being had on the House floor, Mark always brought joy and fun to the chamber. He loved standing up and giving updates on the fundraising efforts and urging people to put money into the basketball. Mark truly loved the state of Montana. He was proud to have been born in Butte. He was proud of his time being raised in eastern Montana, but truly had a love for southwest Montana. Mark lived life to the fullest. Many times I would call Mark on the phone and he wouldn't answer. And he'd call me back several hours later and tell me about the mountain lake he had just hiked into, or a mountaintop in the Pintlers that him and Sue had just snowshoed to the top of. Mark also enjoyed his hunting trips in eastern Montana with Vern. Mark truly cared for his community and for the state of Montana. Mark's legacy will live on every time a Montanan enters the Anaconda Job Corps because he fought to keep it open. And for many generations moving forward, anytime a Montanan has the luck of catching a majestic west slope cutthroat, we can say that Mark had a hand in keeping that species alive in our state. Senator Mark Sweeney.
I'd like to welcome Representative Ken Walsh.
William Bill Thomas. Whereas it is with great, deep, and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the state of Montana record the passing of William Bill Thomas on November 13, 2022, with his family by his side. Bill Thomas was born January 17, 1942, in Great Falls to Martin and Irene Thomas. After graduating from Great Falls Central High, he attended Montana State University, enjoyed fraternity life and college football. He graduated from Montana State Northern. His entrepreneurial spirit led him to become successful small business owner of Granny's Pie House, I'll Do a Bar, Iron Kettle Restaurant, and oil drilling endeavors. He served as a member of the Montana House of Representatives in 1975 and the State Senate in 1977, 79, 1981, and 1982 sessions. He was an educator for 30 years and served as a president of the Montana State Board of Education, where he championed the Montana School of Deaf and Blind. He was particularly fond of helping countless friends and family in navigating the intricacies and ways to afford higher education. He had a strong Catholic faith, having spent time in the seminary in his youth and a lifelong parishioner of Holy Spirit Church. Bill enjoyed a variety of activities, including politics, investing, both water and snow skiing, with yearly boating outings with his family at Seeley Lake. He had a passion for football, the Green Bay Packers, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. He enjoyed and always made time to mentor his political friends and colleagues. He spent time volunteering at St. Thomas Orphanage, Great Falls Rotary, and many roles in organizing the Montana East-West Shrine football games. William Bill Thomas.
I'd like to welcome former Senator Tom Facey.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was with great deep and sincere sorrow that the members of the 68th Legislative Assembly of the State of Montana record the passing of Gene Vukovich on July 12, 2022, at the age of 68. Gene Vukovich was born in Anaconda on March 9, 1936, to Daniel and Donnie Vukovich. He joined his older siblings, Jack and Nada, to create a loving family unit with a fierce devotion to one another. He was only 7 years old when his father suddenly passed away, but Gene believed those hard times helped him develop his strong work ethic, his sense of service to others, and dedication to the community. He met the beautiful and charming Noreen Opie at high school, and she became the love of his life. They were married August 31st, 1957. He received a scholarship from Western Montana College, earning a Bachelor of Arts degree in education, majoring in English and social studies. Gene completed a graduate work at the University of Montana and the University of Utah, earning a master's in science degree in math and physics. He taught and coached in Anaconda school system and also worked as a journeyman iron worker in the summer and school breaks to help support the family. He felt privileged to be part of the crew of the Men of the Mountain, the group of iron workers from Local 81 that helped assemble the Lady of the Rockies. Gene changed career paths and served as director of the Montana Concentrated Employment Program, and for over 16 years served as director coordinator for the Montana Iron Workers Apprentice Program. He was city county manager for the Anaconda Deer Lodge County and was instrumental in seeing the Old Works Golf Course built in a Superfund site. His last job was executive director for the Montana Development Partners. Noreen and Gene also owned the Dairy Queen in Anaconda. Gene sort of had a rough and tough exterior, but not too far underneath that. He was as soft as the ice cream at the Dairy Queen. And when it came time to fire someone, he'd call Noreen up and say, Noreen, you got to get rid of so-and-so. He couldn't do it, even to his son twice. After retirement, Gene was appointed to the state Senate and ran successfully for 2 more terms. He served in the Senate during the 2011 through 2019 sessions, working on the business, energy, and local government committees. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome up Pastor of the Senate, Keith Johnson, for the benediction.
Will you please pray with me? God our Father, thank you for your presence in our midst today. We have heard of amazing lives lived in love of their families and of the state. God, we've heard of amazing accomplishments and lives of service to other people. God, thank you for comforting us today, for being that God of all comfort. And as we go from this place, we pray for your ongoing support and encouragement of these families and friends. And now, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up the light of his countenance upon you and give you his peace, both now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to invite up Representative Denley Logie.
Oh, beautiful
grateful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesty above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
That concludes today's service. I want to thank you all for coming to share this time with us. There's a copy of the memorial available for each family out in the lobby. You should have received an order blank to request additional copies of the memorial resolution and the DVD that is being prepared for this service. If you didn't, you can also order them with the staff in the lobby. Please join us in room 303 on the east side of the rotunda on this floor. The legislative spouses are hosting tea for family and friends. They would like us all, as many as possible, to come. Thank you.